pounds, 100 pounds. Quite often, there's a lot of loose skin, right? That's very bothersome to people. That's a big deal to a lot of people. As someone that's had a tremendous amount of acne and hyperpigmentation, so, I'm not exempt. To me, I was ripped up with muscle doing fitness competitions, and that made me feel very, very insecure, right? So these things have us feeling a kind of way, which is why it's easy to market so many products to us. It messes with our sense of self, our worth. There's lots of feelings of shame. Those are extremely powerful emotions that will override your logic. Period. Shame, guilt, not feeling accepted, they override logic. They just do. It's one of the reasons why young women, young people, we put ourselves in harm's way, young men and women, because we're not feeling good about ourselves, right? And we have so many mirrors, and we have the celebrity mirrors, and now we have Instagram and social media with the very nature of you looking online. Used to be magazines, used to buy Vogue, or men have their muscle and health fitness, but the very nature of you scrolling and looking subconsciously, quite often you're comparing yourself to what you are not. I would even say, just my personal perspective, not necessarily the truth. I've thought about quite often as a young woman, watching and wondering why adults did the things that they did. And a root stands out in my mind when I first time I saw it as a little girl, and I watched it again two more times with my son as an adult. It looked different, and also with my sister. And it was a lot of, I watched just different episodes. And I think of, I have a lot of prayer warriors and missionaries and deacons and deaconess ministers in my family. And I remember the begging and the pleading, begging, pleading. But in one sense, it seems like what we're praying for, it doesn't really manifest. And I'm just saying, from the eyes of a child, when I'm looking at struggles, when I'm looking at the self abuse, intentional, non intentional, coming from trauma, and when I also watch in terms of economics and safety, somehow it's not giving what it's supposed to have gave. And so when I sit, um, and I remember I had a spiritual auntie when I used to work at Heal Thyself. I met all these healers. And they would say things to me that were concepts that were new to me as a young woman, right? And somebody says, why do you hang around these older people? And I was like, wow, they dropping gems. So I remember there was this woman, her name was Lady Prema, spiritual warrior. She was into meditation, she was Christian, vegetarian. I mean, she would just be ahead of her time. And she said, my love, she said, you ask, but you don't know how to receive. She said, you don't receive. And I've gotten that feedback several times, and I think about it often. I'm always fascinated by self sabotage and by self actualization. When does it seem like there are glimpses where the blockage or the lack of esteem is removed, the veil is removed, and you're just in it? You're not even thinking about it. But I would say a good portion of our lives, we talk about faith, but the very action, if you think about it, of begging and pleading for faith, the foundation is that you don't have it.
True.
If you keep praying, supplication, cry, this is what I observed as a child. It's actually traumatizing. Begging, pleading. If you say, that's why I love the early mornings. But if you think about it, people start talking, God told me and this and that. Everybody got a connection to the source, and their mind and their ego, and a lot of times it's mixed into each other. But if you think, quite often, I hear a lot, stop asking. I gave it to you already. I gave you the instruction. I gave you the fruit trees. I gave you examples of nature. I gave it to you already. You're not accepting. You're not receiving. You're not listening. Listening is a mindset. It's a state of being. Listening, listening and being in alignment, hearing, right? We're in a noisy environment. You got to have a sense of curiosity, because at some point you'll realize that you're not listening. Now let's connect that to our goals here with the experimentation, right? I've been in a laboratory for 30 something years around fitness competitors, yoga, ashrams, heal thyself, Native American sweat lodges. and that fear of gaining weight. So sometimes I test it to see what's going to happen. Just like I don't comb my hair sometimes to see what's going to happen, see what kind of feedback I'm going to get, see who really cares about me, or I'm just getting judged on what I look like, not necessarily who I am. And in the experimentation, right, because we're working on binge eating, stress eating, mindless eating, I have watched weight fluctuate in a day, right, which is why we want to weigh or measure ourselves. First time, first thing in the morning, before you eliminate and before you start exercising. We hear